I have here with me today the Apple MacBook Air 13-inch. It's a 2012 model. And then next to it on the right is the Sony VAIO T, the 2012 model. And it is an Ultrabook, although it is a budget version of the Ultrabook in that it only costs in the $700 or so range, whereas the Apple MacBook Air starts at $1199 for the 13-inch version. So we're just going to kind of cover some similarities and differences between the VAIO T and the MacBook Air, and discuss what might be better for your needs and why the MacBook Air is more premium and costs more. First, let's look at the design a little bit, and some might accuse Sony of making a MacBook Air knockoff, and you can probably see why, because the coloration is almost exactly the same when you have silver in the VAIO T, and the shape and just the overall form factor is kind of a copy. The chiclet style keyboard, although you see that on every laptop today, it further just makes it look like the MacBook Air. Now, one thing Sony didn't copy is they don't have a giant touchpad like the MacBook Air. It's just kind of a small size relative to that touchpad. The VAIO T, as it says here, uses an aluminum clad body, which the MacBook Air also does. However, the MacBook Air has a more premium, it's hard to see, but unibody, so it's all just out of one case, whereas the VAIO T, you'll see here, has separate parts. And actually, I think on the side here, it feels like it might be plastic, and that's not so much aluminum, but you do get aluminum here and on the lid area. So on the lid of the VAIO T, you get kind of this hairline brush metal finish. On the MacBook Air, it's a more industrial with just aluminum finish, so there's no hairlines or anything like that. So put these next to each other, you see you get a VAIO logo with some chrome accents there on the Sony, and then the MacBook Air just has the Apple logo, which is very iconic and just about anyone will recognize. So overall, both are nicely designed, but I think that the MacBook Air overall looks much cleaner, and just with its overall thinner profile than the VAIO T, as you can see here, it's going to look more sleek. Let's just look at the port selection on both of these laptops. So the MacBook Air is much thinner than the VAIO T, as you can see from this profile shot here. The MacBook Air, its thickest point is around 0.68 inches, whereas the VAIO T encroaches upon probably about 0.9, maybe just under that inches at the back there. So you can fit more ports on the VAIO T. So on the MacBook Air on the left side, we just have the power jack, and then a USB 3.0, and then a headphone jack. On the VAIO T, you have two USB 3.0s, one of which is charged, and the power jack is here. Now if I rotate around to the right side of the VAIO T here, is where most of my ports are located. You get the headphone jack, you get SD card reader, HDMI, VGA monitor out, and then Ethernet port. Meanwhile, over on the MacBook Air on the right side, you get an SD card reader, and then another USB 3.0, and then a Thunderbolt port. So you do have more port selections on the VAIO T because it is thicker, but the Thunderbolt port on the MacBook Air is certainly a nice port to have. It allows for extremely fast file transfers. It's just a very fast port. It's compatible with DisplayPort. Just wanted to compare the screens here now. So the MacBook Air has a 13-inch screen. It's 1440 by 900 resolution. The VAIO T has a 1366 by 768 resolution 13-inch screen. So you get slightly more pixels on the MacBook Air. Now, as far as viewing angles, the MacBook Air is not IPS screen like the iPad is, but it has pretty good viewing angles. Now, it's glossy, so it's going to reflect the light there. And if I put the Sony VAIO T back, you can see both perform pretty poorly as far as viewing angles in this brightly lit room. And they reflect the lights I have up above me, which is kind of annoying. And that's one feature about glossy screens I don't like to see. So let's tilt the screens forward to see which performs better at a forward viewing angle. So here the MacBook Air does look nicer. It just holds its color better. Overall, the MacBook Air screen is a little nicer than the VAIO T, slightly more premium, but the VAIO T is not bad. let's just talk about performance a bit. So the MacBook Air has an Intel Core i5 processor, and the VAIO T has the same Intel Core i5 processor. The advantage the MacBook Air has is that it has either 128 gigabyte SSD, or you can upgrade to 256 gigabyte SSD. So overall, just a faster performance because of that SSD. The VAIO T, you do not get an SSD. You just get a regular hard drive. So that's one big reason that the MacBook Air is more expensive. If you want more storage capacity, the VAIO T is good for that, because like in my configuration, you get 500 gigabytes. Whereas the MacBook Air, I have a 256 gigabyte SSD, but that's a pricey upgrade to do. And you still don't get as much capacity. But I think those that are looking at ultra portables are concerned more about just performance and reliability, and that the SSD certainly delivers in that area. So, while processor and memory-wise, these laptops are fairly similar, the SSD that comes with the MacBook Air does make it a faster overall machine to have. Now we're going to do the all-important weigh-in here so we can compare the weight of the MacBook Air and the VAIO T. So like I said, the MacBook Air is a more premium machine, and it is lighter. It's under 3 pounds, so I'm going to put it on the scales here. And you'll see that it comes in at just under 3 pounds, 2 pounds 15 ounces. We'll grab our VAIO T, put it on the scales, and just check here, it's zeroed out. And there you see it's over 3 pounds. It's 3 pounds 6 ounces, so just shy of 3.5 pounds. So the MacBook Air is the thinner and lighter of these two laptops by quite a bit. Just to conclude, to be fair, I don't think anyone's claiming the VAIO T is an overall better laptop than the Apple MacBook Air, because the MacBook Air is more premium, and the $1199 price is justified there, whereas the VAIO T starts at around $700 to $800, and it just doesn't use quite the same premium parts such as SSD. It's not quite as well built. It doesn't have the big touchpad. Just overall, the fit and finish isn't quite the same. However, if you're on a budget and you can't afford eventually after configuring a MacBook Air, it's going to top out at over $1,300–1,400. If you can't afford that, the VAIO T is a nice alternative. It does kind of look like it, so you might be able to fool some people into thinking that you have a MacBook Air. But you know, it's a nice thin and light laptop that is appealing looking. It does borrow from the MacBook Air somewhat. But it's great in and of itself, even though it's maybe not in the same class as the MacBook Air. So that's just why I wanted to compare, so for those of you that like the MacBook Air but can't justify the cost and do need some of those features like a larger capacity hard drive the VAIO T offers, then certainly it could be an option for you as well.